Okay, so I've told people through the years as I've been making videos that what's going on in today's society is nothing but history replaying itself. I've probably told this 1,000 times, if not more, over the years. And I'm serious about it when I tell you that I don't come up here and bullshit people or lie to people. I tell you the factual truth. I really do. And like some people who don't like Mark Passio, the thing I always liked about Mark Passio is he's direct forward, he's brutally honest, he's in your face, okay? And he has a lot of same beliefs. I mean, just like me. He don't give a shit how you feel or what you think. Yep, that's me all the way. So he has a lot of traits that I have that it's embedded in me. It's who I am, okay? But the passion is for what's right for all of us. Okay, it's not about doing harm on anybody else. It's about what's right for all of us, for everybody. And it's about stopping tyranny and corruption. And government is 100% absolutely enslavement. Okay? Just like we used to have a well-regulated militia in this country that we don't have anymore. That's been infiltrated. It's been skewed and destroyed deliberately. And then we have what I've been telling people recently, especially over in the manosphere. Okay? To keep their damn eyes on and pay attention to who they're listening to. Because we have, YouTube, okay, owned and controlled by Google, okay, who is heavily in bed with the military-industrial complex and the CIA. And Google is heavily in bed with these people, the people we're fighting against, just like the CIA and the military-industrial complex are being used by the powers to be as we replay history all over again right here in the United States. And I've been trying to tell the manosphere they better be careful about who they're watching. I see through it. So how many of you people can have the ability to actually see through bullshit? To know when you're being deceived or lied to, and to recognize people that are most commonly military intelligence or right here in your face, the military industrial media complex. I put this up here and I got this in your face because you need to understand. It's like with MGTOW and a so-called interview with CNN News. Well, that was an interview with the military industrial media complex. That's what you're not understanding. It's an interview with the CIA. That's really what that is. It's coercion. It's deliberately done. It's not because MGTOW been going their way or finally getting on mainstream media. No, it's because you're being set up. They're making a running history. Right in your face. They are creating a running history of an attack on the manosphere that they, the powers to be, through social engineering, have caused the problem that all these different, that's why I told you, in the live stream, I don't care what name you call yourself, whether you call yourself MGTOW, what do you call yourself, TFL, what do you call yourself, a men's rights activist, I just don't care, or an incel. It doesn't matter to me what group you're falling for, what you're calling yourself, or what you place yourself in. All the problems that are being talked about in all of these different named groups, the common denominator is they're all whining and complaining about the same problems. But the problems was socially engineered by the powers to be. And the interview with MGTOW on CNN is for a running history. It's to push mental health laws, to furtherly enslave you, to furtherly take rights away from you and to attack you for the very problem they gave you. That's really what this is all about. And that's the reason I showed you this. Okay, now I got something else I want to show you.
By Jim Keith called Mass Control. Mass Control by the gentleman named Jim Keith. I want to count. Please leave your hand up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 people. Absolutely unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. Everyone here, if you want to know what is taking place in America and throughout the world, should have already read the book by Jim Keith called Mass Control. Mass Control by Jim Keith. He was assassinated for writing this book. He was found dead under suspicious circumstances with no connections to the crime, no one arrested for it, because of the information he released in this book about exactly how much and how deeply embedded the Central Intelligence, members of Central Intelligence in the United States, have embedded themselves in United States media corporations and entities. And he discovered that it is far worse than how embedded the KGB was in Soviet Russia media. But only, see, there's a big difference between them and us. There's a big difference between people living under Soviet rule in the USSR and people today in America. The people living under Soviet rule, when the KGB owned every aspect of just about every media outlet that they were allowed to see and hear, laughed at it. They laughed at it. They thought it was a joke. They turned the news on at night and said to one another, "Here comes the KGB report." Literally. Literally, it was a common phrase. The KGB report is what the nightly news was called in Soviet Russia. Here, full-grown adults, or people who think of themselves as adults, actually believe that they're being given critical information that they need to hear and understand when they're watching the nightly news, and don't believe that the CIA 100% controls the news media and the outlets that put forward the news, so-called news. This is how naive and childish the American population is.
Yeah, so I wanted to show you them couple of things, and even Mark Passy was telling you what I've been trying to tell you. You know, I'm aware of what's going on around me. I've spent a lot of years doing this. I've done a lot of research over the years. It doesn't matter what clowns come up online and try to tell you otherwise about me, that don't know me, that's never talked to me once in their life, that don't know the first thing about me. And if there are clowns that come up and mimic me, do you think that was an accident? That all the years that I've been up on YouTube, I was the only one that ever touched both topics. I was the only one that did NWO along with the dating. And I got criticized a lot over the years. Why the hell am I doing political videos and NWO videos when I'm doing dating videos? And why don't I separate them onto 2 different channels and blah, 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 blah. That's what I kept hearing every time, and I just took it as blah, 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 blah. Because you was asleep, it's not my problem. It's not my fault. It's not my fault that society's been socially engineered, okay? We've all, every last one of us, we grew up being lied to our whole lives. Social engineering, the ability to change one's belief systems, make them believe in stuff that's complete nonsense, that's BS. Okay? One's ability to see through BS, to realize when you need to be very careful, when you need to be walking carefully and paying attention to what's going on around you. Because the thing is this, in the manosphere, for all the men that are actually speaking up, they all have legit complaints. What they're complaining about, and what they're telling you is going on, and what they're showing you is going on. Okay? The problem I've had is, for as long as I've been doing this, I've been attacked by the very entity that I'm up here to help. Okay? People. That's right. I've always had care in my heart. I've always cared about what's right and what's wrong. And I care about what's going on in our world. And about where it's going to lead us. And I've told people from day one, that it's history replaying itself. It's history replaying itself. You know, when I come up and started doing my research and speaking out, the more I dove into my research, the more I learned, the more I seen in my face. And I've always had I don't know, an ability to see through lies and bullshit. And to perceive and know when I'm being lied to, when I'm being suckered, or when somebody's, you know. And of course, over the years, it's caused some conflicts with some of the people that I've worked with or done things with, most recently Jerry. And that's because I'm real. I'm not fraudulent. I'm not fake. And I'm not going to put on a persona. I'm not going to run on ego. I'm not going to let an ego run me and control me and inflate and change my behaviors and become like the very people I'm speaking against. And because of my life experiences in real life, not even on the internet, and then on the internet, I've went through a lot of attacks. I really have, okay? And I'm trying to help. And I can only help those who want help. I cannot help those who are ignorant. You know, I can point a direction for you to go to look, and if I tell the people in the manosphere to start paying attention to Mark Passio, I'm saying it because the man's a lot like me when it comes to what he's talking about, but he tells you the truth and he's not lying to you. So whether you agree or disagree, the man's going to be bold-faced, honest in your face, and guess what? Just like me, he don't give a flying shit what you think about him. Okay? And that's what you have to be. You cannot be any other way than to be just like what Mark Passio is or myself is. And continue to fight what I'm fighting. Because the majority of people out here have not done their homework, are asleep to what's going on, falling down rabbit holes. You know, you don't think I didn't fall down rabbit holes along this journey? Oh, yeah, you're damn right I did. You know, when I tell people practice doing right, recognize right from wrong, and practice doing unto somebody else as you want done unto yourself, I mean it. And when I said all the stuff I tell you also applies to me, and it always has. And I'm not going to tell you something I'm not willing to do myself. Never, ever will I do that. Okay? And one has to first want to be honest, then they got to be honest with themselves. Anybody can fly under the truther's name online and call themselves a truther and speak up against corruption. But the red flag should be if somebody's calling themselves a truther and speaking up against corruption, and they realize this is literally a war of evil versus good. Doesn't matter which way you paint it, it really is a war of evil versus good. Then they should realize if they're really an honest truther, the truth isn't a buffet line, and you can't pick out the parts that you want to deal with only, and I don't give a shit about the rest. That mentality right there, you already lost. I don't even know why you're here. You're already a loser. And I'm not joking. And of course, because I'm real, and because I care for real, it brings me problems with people, especially people who are fake, are fraudulent, who want the public to perceive them as being a real honest person and a truther, and they're wanting what's right. You know, and that's the funny thing when it comes to speaking up against evil, the corruption, NWO, and speaking on the manosphere, because so many so-called truthers, it's above their IQ. It's over their head. They're not awake. They claim to be all this awake and all this intelligent, but they're sound asleep. And even when they claim that they see it, actions speak louder than words. Always have and always will. So how many of you people understand what I just showed you and what Mark Passio showed you? Do you understand when I brought up turd-flinging monkey, and I read his name backwards to you, it's because I see through him. It's because I see who he is and what he's doing. Yeah, no lie, fact. Just like a certain other individual who came up online 2.5, 3 years ago. The only person to ever mimic to a T what I've done all these years. Nobody else had ever done this on YouTube. Nobody else. And when I give this name, I was literally the only person that ever talked about this until Steve Hoka come along. And Steve Hoka's still here. And I only put a name to a problem that was socially engineered. That's all I did. And broke it down for people and described what it was. And then started showing what everybody should be interested in. It's cause and effect. Mark Bassio will tell you cause and effect, cause and effect. Steve Hoka will tell you from being a tech and fixing air conditioners and furnaces, you got to find the root cause to fix the problem. I'll tell you it from my trade skills that I have in my life. You have to find the root cause to fix the problem. When Mark Passio talks about cause and effect, he's talking about the root cause. He's not talking about symptoms. He has showed you the symptoms. Even Mark Passio has showed you the symptoms. And then he shows you the cause. That's what I've been doing all along. But you didn't want to hear the cause, is that right? Then you have to be honest with yourself. If you're a so-called truther and you can't be honest with yourself, then you're not a truther, you're a fraud, you're a fake. And if you mean well and have good intentions, because I honestly like Jerry, and I know in his heart that he meant well, I know what he said about Kalamazoo overall, he told the truth. I know he didn't lie to you when he said he was handicapped. And he had good intentions that got skewed and destroyed by his own ego. Because that is what that does to you. When I said ego, power, and greed are all in one category, because they are. Power absolutely corrupts the human mind when people have power over other people. Greed absolutely corrupts the human mind. And ego absolutely corrupts the human mind. And I know I piss people off when I say this, but even Mark Passio said, lose that ego. See, he sees it too. He knows as well as I know. That's what happened to me and Jerry. I don't have ego. I don't run on ego. And some people can argue, oh yeah, everybody has ego. Well, if I have ego, it's so little I don't even notice it. See, that's a judgment call when you say everybody has ego. Maybe some people have more self-discipline or more control over their own selves, than others. Because I don't run on ego, never have, never will. I've witnessed what ego does to people my whole life, long before the internet was ever here. With my own eyes in my own face. Time in and time in and time in, have I witnessed this in my life. And that's what happened to Jerry and I, was ego. Jerry's ego. You know, it's sad. I didn't like seeing what was happening, but it was becoming harder and harder to work with him for me. For me, I was having a real hard time working with him in the last few months because of the fact that I watched his ego inflate and I watched it grow big. And I'm not even going to tell you some of the stuff he told me that he was going thinking of doing and wanting to do, because it all came from ego. And it was corrupt. It was doing wrong unto others. And you can't correct a problem by practicing the corruption. You know, you have to first be honest with yourself. Then you have to recognize right from wrong. Then you have to be self-check. Self-check your own self. You grew up in the same world I did, with the same social engineering I did. And don't tell me there's nothing wrong with you. Because if you don't self-check yourself, you're already fouled. You're already lost. And for people, because even Jerry made this statement, I'm not changing nothing about myself because I already know I'm all right. And that's the man that's running on ego. Okay, that's because it offended him. Because that's what ego does. It absolutely corrupts. It deludes your mind into believing that you're something you're not. Okay, it really does. It's sad. Didn't like to see it happen, but it was getting tougher for me to work with him. You know, and I just take it as another life experience in this war of fighting what I'm fighting. You know, he claimed to see both sides. Oh yeah, he cold-heartedly claimed he saw both sides. But he proved one thing. He didn't see the other side. He just talked the talk, but couldn't walk the walk. Because that's where the problem started. I did a dating scene topic video, as I've done for years. And that's when I got attacked by. So, you know, and that right there answered all of my questions, didn't it? You know, so, and of course, to come up at the end and tell everybody that he was tired of being abused by me, what he was really tired of being abused by was the truth. Yes, the truther Jerry was tired of being abused by the real truth. Because the real truth was hurting his ego that had already corrupted him. And he was unable to see it. Or just absolutely refused to see it. See, so he's already lost. NWO's got him all bent over. And there ain't nothing you can do for him. He has to either snap out of it, grow some tough skin, and deflate that ego, or he'll always be a loser. He cannot fight this fight. He's not strong enough to fight this fight because he's been corrupted by his own self, his ego. It's sad. It really is. But how many of you people see through bullshit in the manosphere? How many of you can tell and see right through bullshit? When I told you to be careful about what you're watching on YouTube, you better remember they're an employee of Google. YouTube is owned by Google. Google is controlled and run by who? CIA, military intelligence. That's right. Military industrial complex. Okay, military industrial media complex. Media. CIA, CNN, Anderson Cooper. I shouldn't have to go any further to drive that message into your head. Turd flinging monkey. Monk, standing for man. Flinging propaganda. Okay, the man who mimicked me. The only person that ever done it, in all the years I've been doing it, that showed up 2.5, 3 years ago, and on his channel was like watching a channel I had for years. He was literally talking about NWO and he was telling you the truth, the political arena, and he was talking about the dating arena, TFL. Yeah, men going their own way. And he was telling the truth. And then he took down all of his videos. And then he started making new videos. Slamming the very entity, slamming the very thing he talked about all that time. I told you before, I really do suspect he's military industrial complex, military industrial media complex. How much truth he's ever told from day one, about who he is? See, he hides himself. Well, if you're working for CIA or the military media, the military industrial media complex portion of the CIA, you're not going to tell anybody who you are. You're going to act just like he is. Just like turd flinging monkey. Yeah. People said, well, what a name. All you got to do is examine his channel and examine the name and read it backwards so you understand clearly who he is. It's in your face. See, they're building a history. That's what I was telling you. That's what they're doing. They're building a history against the manosphere to shut us up, to censor. Yeah, to censor, to shut us up. They didn't mind it with MRA because they was problem, reaction, solution. They didn't mind PUA, pickup artist industry, because it was in their agenda. It was the propaganda for the problem they gave to us. They didn't mind MRA because they already had it under control. They controlled the scenario. They controlled it. They gave us the problem and then controlled problem, reaction, solution. Totally controlled by them. What they mind is people who are showing you the root cause. That bothers them, yes. You know, like Mark Passio, the stuff he tells you. He tells you an awful lot of truths. Don't, even if you say he's a shield, I don't have no evidence to actually point my finger and call him a shield. And even if he was a shield or is a shield, it's the truth that counts. And being able to recognize the truth. Not Mark Passio started deceiving and lying and throwing propaganda into his truth, then you have to break that out, won't you? See, so it's important to do your homework and your research so that you can see the lie when he tells it. But I have yet to catch him lying. Because you call him a shield don't mean he is a shield. He has a lot of the same thoughts I have. He really does. I've watched him. He reminds me of me in a lot of ways. Oh, not in all the way, no, because he's Mark Passio and I'm Bill. He's him and I'm me. But he has a lot of the same characteristics I do. And he'll tell you firsthand that you got to be honest with yourself. You do. And you have to be able to recognize right from wrong. And you do have to understand your history. That was the part of Jerry that was good. But I've understood a lot of history. Maybe it's not as intense as Jerry's, but I've understood enough history and studied enough to know what I see, what's going on. And I would tell people to watch Mark Passio and learn from him. Let him educate you. Because you're going to get a lot of knowledge if you let him educate you and if you'll go look into the stuff yourself that he's telling you. You're going to gain a lot of knowledge. And with that knowledge and being honest and being truthful, and then care. The number one thing we're missing in society is care. People's ability to care for other people as much as they care for their own selves. When you can care for a perfect stranger you've never met in your life as much as you care about your own self, as far as the rights goes onto others, that's when you're going to be on the right path. Because we have to have that care, and we have to be honest, and we have to be honest with ourselves first before we can be honest with anybody else. And Mark Passio said it himself, lose that ego. Yeah, that was out of Mark Passio's mouth. See, so yeah, and it's correct. That ego will corrupt you. And the last friend I had online that I worked with, that's what destroyed us. was his ego. It's also what's destroying him. Unfortunately, he's a handicapped man with fake legs, who is the rest of his body's becoming as fake as his legs because of his ego. But he refuses to check himself. I don't refuse to check myself. I've checked myself off and on throughout the years, and I keep constantly rechecking myself. And I'll tell you what, you may not think I have because I spoke against a female, right? That's because you're not awake to the other side. That's because you don't understand. That's because you have fallen for the social engineering and the brainwashing. You are playing into the war on genders. Divide and conquer. And don't even know you are. Why do you think the majority of truthers won't touch the manosphere? Because they're not awake to what's really taking place. Mark Passio touched the manosphere. He won't hesitate in a bit, and he already has. Why? Because he's awake to all forms of evil, all forms of corruption, to the social engineering. He's fighting the whole war on evil. He's not playing selective. And that's what the majority of so-called truthers up here online are doing. They're selecting out only the parts they want, leaving the rest of the evil in place. They've already lost. The same as when you run on ego. You're already doomed to lose. You couldn't win if you tried. Don't matter how smart you think you are. You've outsmarted yourself. So, I guess the name of this video should be just what it is. How many men in the manosphere can see through bullshit? BS. Be careful. Recognize who you're listening to. YouTube's loaded full of plants. They're loaded just like the media is through CIA, military-industrial complex plants, agents, who are destroying your society and your freedoms for the tool, for their own selfishness. Because through mind control, they're too naive to see what they're even doing. They don't understand that they are the evil that's replaying history. And some of these people actually know they are, and they just don't care. They're just that corrupt. But with that being said, I'm going to get on out of here, but I wanted to point this out to you, let you hear it from somebody besides myself, and put it in your face one more time. To the manosphere, listen to what I'm telling you. We have two people that I'm almost 100% sure are military-industrial media complex, CIA-controlled agents, plants, right here on YouTube. One of them's been attacking me pretty good recently, and Steve Hoka. That's because the attack is on the manosphere. And that's because, well, for me it's normal because, see, I've been pushing the root cause for years, and that's what wound up with feds at my door and a green light through my window and a scrambled signal on my Skype from a device only the military has. Yes, all that stuff really happened to me. What they're doing now is making a running history of BS to use that to push fraudulent. See, so I listen to Mark Passio on natural rights. Natural rights trumps any law any man tries to make over another human being. And that's where you're going to have to go here, because these people, the psychopaths, the criminals, are making the laws that's enslaving you, and you're too scared to stand up to it. And then they're using their thugs that they're calling their law enforcement, your police officers, your sheriff's department, your highway patrol. They're using their thugs and that force to enforce tyranny and enslavement on you and to shut you up. And that's what this is about. That's why there's going to be mental health laws pushed against the manosphere. They created our problem, but the problem they're having now is there's people up here telling you the real truth and pointing out the root cause. For all the years MRA has been on YouTube, they've never once ever pointed out the root cause of anything. And I've always pointed out the root cause. I've put it in your face. And that's the reason they wanted to push these laws, mental health laws to begin with. Is to shut people like me up, or Steve Hoke up, or any of you other people that are willing to jump aboard. You can't let them do it. You have to keep speaking out, regardless of what they say. You have to grow tough skin. Or you can join the cowards and die a coward on your knees. So ask yourself this for the men in the manosphere. Would you rather die a coward on your knees or die a man standing up and fighting back? That's your choice. Take your pick.